come to the Septuagesima, which is the preparation for Lent. And this preparation is the 7th Sunday until the Passiontide. And with this we have the violet vestments, we don't sing the Gloria, and we have the tract and the gradual. A very beautiful prelude to the Lenten season. It's not properly Lent yet, of course, but a preparation time. Today I wanted to speak not only about the season of Septuagesima, which really in the traditional liturgy is a focus on atonement, atoning. And I know that Father Phillips, the atonement, is big on talking about being at one. That word atone is at one. All of us being united and realizing that we must be one before we go to our judgment. We must be one in the face of the Passion. In this war against sin, which is inaugurated today, we must be unified and faithful. And one of the ways in which the Church is best exemplified in her unity and her faithfulness is the sacrament of matrimony. And I wanted to talk a bit about what's happened to marriage in our country. There's a big article on it recently from which I'm going to take some of my sermon. And we must realize that our society, as I've said before, has largely lost the ability to love. It's largely lost the ability to know what love is about. There are many statistics quoted in this magazine, and of course, statistics can be used as a weapon in many ways, but I think it's very telling. They somewhat mirror the marriage of the soul at Holy Mass and the attendance at Mass. I'll just run some numbers by you. In 1960, there were roughly 180 million people, which is, of those, about 24% or about a quarter were Catholic. It's always been pretty constant since that time. Well, today there's nearly 300, some say it's going to be a little over 300 million in the most recent census. So that's a gain of 120 million people. So it's a 67% rise in our population since 1960. But the bad news is that the number of marriages, as the population has gone up by 2/3, the number of marriages in the Catholic Church has gone down by 85%. It's an incredible precipitous fall. Our young couples are refusing to marry in the Church, and most of them are either cohabitating or have a civil marriage. And in these cohabitations, there are usually several sets of children that are fathered by different fathers or mothered by different mothers. An incredibly bad situation. We know that in the 1960s, there were about 355,000 marriages a year. Now, in a constant count, consonant with the increase in population, every year now we should be having close to 600,000 marriages per year. But unfortunately, we're only actually having about 191,000. So we have a third of the marriages we're supposed to have. In this article, the following quote, I think, highlights some of the problem. The negative images of marriage portrayed in the media in our society over the last 36 years had changed the way we think about and live out our marriage. We have gone from Leave It to Beaver to the Brady Bunch, then to All in the Family, then to Married with Children, and finally The Simpsons. Marriage is continually shown in a negative light by much of society. In fact, many of the men are seen as buffoons in a marriage. The ease with which our friends, family, and co-workers leave marriage relationships has a generational effect on the desire to be married. We really have undercut marriage, and no wonder our attendance figures. Of course, I would say that even in the 1960s, there were many people who chose not to be married in the Church, and that still holds today. Just like we normally say about 30% of our registered parishioners are coming to Mass on Sundays, but it doesn't count the people who aren't registered and who kind of fall through the cracks. So really that number is more 10 or 15% of actual marriages between baptized Catholics, and because we have no way of keeping records of people who don't even come to Mass. So I would say that figure is even lower than 33% of our couples marrying in the church from what we previously had.